Hello, everyone. I am Boris from Boredom Sated.
I'm Michael from Boredom Sated.
I'm John from Boredom Sated.
And if you didn't guess by now, I'm Jonathan from Boredom Sated. And this is one of the first times you're going to see all four of us together.
Well, since
Yes,
it's our
and
Pathfinder, campaign
yes,
settings.
yes,
Hey,
and the special reason that all four of us have decided to jump on this is as a reaction to. I mean, we'll put the link at the bottom, but as you heard, one of a YouTuber has put out a video why I'm quitting Pathfinder 2E, and his main point is the illusion of choice. And we all have our own little views on this. This is our own personal viewpoint. I mean, this is you can take a look, value our arguments for this or against this, and make your own decision. So I'll begin since I did the summary. So there's two critical issues I have with what he said about the illusion of choice. The first critical issue I have is that there is a choice. The choice is what you make at first level. Do you want your fighter to be sword and board? Do you want him to be a bow fighter? Do you want him to be a duelist type of fighter? Same thing with the all the others. Do you want your ranger to have a companion? Do you want him to be a bow, dual wielding? And once you said that choice, yes, you're sort of your feats are limited as you go up in level to progress that choice. But you have a vast, large choice in what type of character you do. You just people have to understand that it's at first level. And the second issue I have with that is, yes, if you see that your party, the players that are they're optimizing to one type of combat event, like they're all ready for melee. If you keep on throwing them melee guys, they will slaughter that really easy. You as a GM have to throw out different things to change it up for them. You have to throw out range units. You have to throw out flying units. You have to throw on sneak units that will surprise attack them and run off. All of that you have to throw in to change it all up. Now I understand he was running a module and it's very difficult to change that up. But if you see a continuous module things, that's on the module, but the module isn't written in stone. You don't have to follow it exactly. You can change the encounters so that it is a little bit different, and it won't take away much from the overall module. The module is the story path, not the various creatures they're fighting. So that's my 2 cents on
Okay.
the view.
So as when I watched the video, and it involves two terms that he utilized about play style and the tendency of players to optimize and do pick optimal choices in order to achieve certain things to overcome encounters versus suboptimal, which is lends to a more role playing aspect of it, less doing as much damage as possible and being more versatile, perhaps utilizing maneuvers, tripping, im- uh, putting conditions on the monsters or whatever else to get past certain hazards, whatever it is. Um, I like to address this. Now, you're going to optimize if you're constantly getting the same exact encounter, like Boris said. That's, again, that's one part of that blame goes to the module itself. I've read some aspects of those modules. It was 6 parts, and it was from level 1 to 20. And according to the video, it took him and his group a whole year to get through. Okay, so you're eventually going to develop patterns. You're going to see, all right, in this place you encounter 5 different encounters, whatever it is, and they're all the same style. Well, yes, of course, the players are going to pick up on that, and as they progress, they're going to develop better tools to deal with that particular style of play. Okay, but that's not the system's fault. If you're blaming the system for it, as they say, a bad tradesman blames his tools. It's not the tool's fault. It's the tradesman. In this case, it's the dungeon master. Dungeon master is in charge of everything. There's a reason why you have that that wall in front of you, that games master's screen, dungeon master's screen. You can mitigate every aspect of it. Yes, there are rules, and yes, there are scripts, as it were. What did the player say? What did the boss say? What is he monologue? All that wonderful stuff, and also what encounters are there. But it's up to you to determine how much damage or how many times you're hitting or not hitting that if you inflict upon the players. Now the video also mentioned that during his campaign he had 3 TPKs, 3 total party wipes. After the first one, it should have as a dungeon master, you should reevaluate and say what happened. Now, on one hand, if the players were gun ho about it, they were reckless, they didn't heal up enough, or they just were too arrogant, then sure, they'll let the dice fall where they may and knock them out. But if they were prepared and they didn't make too many mistakes, or at least they had healed up and were ready for it, and you still wiped them out 3 times, then there's something wrong with the module. Not the system, though. The system, there's no perfect system out there. There never will be. There's always flaws in everything. But saying that, and this is what Cody, I believe his name is, mentions that he'd rather play, if there's no choices for his players, as he said, other than this particular play style, he'd rather go back to 5th edition. Well, 5th edition isn't going to solve the problem. You're going to have the exact same scenario again and again. It doesn't make a difference what system you play. You want a less complicated system? Well, you definitely got that right. It is a less complicated system. That's true. But then you have no choice in 5th edition. That's just my 2 cents.
So, to piggyback on what both of you guys have said, first, obviously, we've done plenty of videos about choices you can make with every single class. But it is, as Boris said, most of your choice comes in what you want your character to do at the beginning of the game. And that is basically what your character is going to do. Now, every character that I've built in Pathfinder 2, I've done 2 things. I've tried to do at least 2 different kinds of abilities for that character, because you can do that. This is not something you could do in other editions. However, the most important thing really that needs to be mentioned about this is one of the both best and worst things about Pathfinder 2. Every module is written basically in the same style. And you can take a module and you can just change it based on every single game system, and it will probably work relatively well. Pathfinder 2 is unique in one major way. In every other game system, at least every D&D system I've played for the last 20 years, you can fight things 4 and 5 levels higher than you, and there's no trouble. That's fine. Pathfinder 2 did not build that. Pathfinder 2, if you try to fight something more than 2 levels higher than you, you're going to die if it's played correctly. Their saves are too good, their AC is too high, their plus to hit is too high. You can't win. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're playing it correctly, if the GM is playing it correctly, without luck, if you go strictly based on averages, you're gonna die. And every module I have ever read, you get to a point where the things you're fighting are much higher level than you. And that's fine. In every other edition I've ever played, I've played through plenty of Pathfinder 1 modules, D&D 3.5 modules, 4th edition modules, 5th edition modules. They're fine if you fight up. If you fight up in Pathfinder 2, you're going to die. The GM has to do some work because the people who wrote the modules didn't. That also brings up a couple of things, which is what John is going to get to, which I want this to kind of be more of a discussion for what we're going to talk about, which is there are some builds in Pathfinder 2 because of the way they did it that don't work. You can't do, like, spellcasters in general are weaker than melee characters because of the fact that the saves are so high on the monsters. You don't get anything that can increase it. We played to level 20. I had a DC 45 or 46 for my saving throw. But guess what? When the monster has a plus 39 or 40 to their will save, having that ridiculous legendary save doesn't mean anything if they save on a 6. If they have an AC of 45 and you're a level 20, the character John's going to talk about, you need a 14 or a 15 to even hit in the first place unless you are a character that's optimized. But that's not about feats, because you don't get pluses to hit from feats in general. You just get a little bit of bonuses here and there to your play style. Where do you get your pluses to hit? That's completely from whatever character class you pick. The only fighter class that gets legendary attacking is fighters. Everybody else only gets master. And that's one of the main problems with the mixed characters as well. Because, as an example, the alchemist, which we're going to go over, and also any caster class that tries to go into a fighting style never gets higher than expert in the fighting. If you think you're going to play a fighting type wizard or a fighting type bard or a fighting or the battle oracle, which I wanted to try so badly, the battle oracle never gets better than expert fighting. You can't win once you're about higher than level 13 or 14 because you can't hit. If you need a 14 or higher to hit the monsters that are your level, it doesn't work. That is a problem with the system.
And I tried the alchemist. It was replacing one of my. I tend to have my characters killed in Mike's games way too often, so I had to replace my sorcerer with a alchemist. I was like, oh, let me try the alchemist at level 19. So I built them all up. Took me quite a few hours to put everything together. And he's trying to hit, but he's going to be a bomber, so I tried to hit with the bombs. No, barely hits. I get the splash damage only, and it's because I have expert for hitting and just doesn't have enough bonuses against their the monster's AC to really do much. So it was the alchemist is definitely broken in both the bombing and the poisoner because of the saves. You could probably get away with the mutagen one, but it's definitely a class that needs work, and they've had a few books to get that fixed, and it's really weird that they haven't done that.
And
with the illusion of choice, it does your choices are at first level. The first few couple levels is where everything is done, and then it does look like an illusion because you're pushed into that build. So I kind of agree, but not fully with Taking20 and his views. But I understand why you're number crunching and you're building a character possibly for hours if you're not 100% familiar with all the little things. And in D&D you're done in 10 minutes. So
yep.
Understandable that the time and effort put in there. If you think there's no choice at the end, you might as well play D&D. But if you want something very, very different and then actually scales, which D&D doesn't really do, the Pathfinder 2E does scale at 20th level when you're facing other 20th levels. It's a fight. It's not a squash match like in possibly in D&D or some other games.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The issue that the bomber is just an expert, and it's such an easy fix in my mind, because when somebody picks that expertise, they should be really good at it, and all you have to do is say at around 15th or 16th level, if you're a bomber, anytime you throw a bomb, you get a +2. So now you become a master with those things. It's a very easy fix and equivalent, and you're done and you move on. And hopefully Paizo will see that and do that. And it's the same. It's the same thing. I really think that yes, the fighter. I see why they made the fighter one of the only ones that gets legendary and melee weapons, because that's what he does. That's where he should be. The champion gets legendary with armor. Totally get it. But those sort of outside there core classes need to be better than just an expert in what they do. The bomber needs to get that +2 when he throws bomb. He doesn't have to have an expert in weapons or bows or anything. But when he throws bomb at 16th level, just say, if you're a bomber, you get a +2. If you're a poisoner or something for an alchemist at 16th level, just say all your poisons, are harder to
Initial save
uh,
is hard.
for them to resist. Yeah, increase the save by 2, and that really, when you're really that good and you're specializing, you should get those bonuses for.
Yeah. You have in for the poisoner aspect as alchemist. There, if you go in the poisoner archetype, they have a feat there that increases the initial saving throw of a poison by 2, exactly as you. But you shouldn't have to take an archetype for something that's a core class feature. I mean, you have the
Exactly.
ability to create that, and also as far as the bomber are concerned, I don't even think the bomber should be throwing the bomb to hit the person directly. Bombs are area effect weapons, like throwing grenades. You got to be close. That's all you need to be. There should be like a difference in the mechanism, where it's like, okay, it should be like almost like a saving throw, and just simply, but in a slightly different way, where they can you are unpredictable because you're throwing the bomb. The other guy is not used to. Most people in the world are used to people throwing or shooting stuff directly at you. Now you have somebody who's throwing just stuff near you because the blast radius will get you in some way, shape, or form. So you get them to make a reflex save, but say for instance you add it's now basically pure on your class DC plus so you can add your intelligence to it as opposed to your dexterity to it, which is your higher stat anyway, your intelligence, and maybe a class bonus on top of that. Be unpredictable bomb thrower, so you add an additional 2, so that's even more difficult to save against.
Well, okay, so these are obviously one way to fix that problem. But again, all of the caster classes that try to go into the specializations of fighting have the same problem. They never get past expert. Even the ones that say, okay, I'm going to make it so that you do even get expert instead of just trained. It's not good enough. If you want to try to play a build that is reliant on being in melee or at ranged and not throwing spells, it needs to be better than expert. And the saving throws, as I've said, on monsters and the ACs on monsters are significantly higher than that of the players in most cases, especially at very high level. This is the problem with the system. These are the things that you need to work out as you're playing it as the GM.
Yeah.
There are obviously going to be problems, and those are among those problems. But that's the reason why the GM has to do at least a little bit of work. In 5th edition, you can fight against a 20th level monster at level 12 if your party is not terrible. You can't do that here. Yeah. We've fought against. There's plenty of editions where it's built for that to happen, and this just isn't one of them. However, if that is something that is a big turnoff for you, which it could very well just be, then don't play this system. That's fine. Everyone enjoys what they want. I have a friend who doesn't have a problem with doing the math, doesn't have a problem with all of that, but they want to make sure that everyone can enjoy themselves and doesn't have to worry as much, and that's the reason why they play 5th edition. It's a simpler game, it's easier to play with, it's more open to everyone, and that's fine. And the thing is, technically, the illusion of choice is only there really once as well, which is when at 1st or 3rd level, you pick whatever build you're going to go with. You just don't even get feats to change that. You get like a couple feats, and they're not really major changes. So it is what it is. You play what you want as long as everyone's having fun and you can have a nice, reasonable discussion about it.
Right. So pretty much to summarize, in our viewpoint, we believe there is no illusion of choice. The choices are really broad. It's the play style that you choose at 1st level, that you have all of these choices, and yes, you're sort of limited once you choose that style, but that's with anything in we can see that working in society too, with lawyers, doctors. They take expertise. You don't have a lawyer that does everything. You have a lawyer that specializes in a certain thing. Same thing with doctors. You don't have a doctor that knows everything. He
Yeah, specialists.
specializes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the same thing, and it's not it. I think is confusing that at higher level you're picking those things where you had multiple choices at lower level on how you were going to play. And even then, certain levels, the feats that you would normally pick, let's say you're a board and sword fighter, are not that great. It does give you an opportunity to jump into maybe a bow, so you could still be really great board and sword, and be very reasonable with a bow. You do have that opportunity, and it does give you that thing to utilize. So I think there isn't an illusion of choice. It's just you have to understand that your choices are at the direction you pick at first level. I think that the GM needs to interact based on the playstyle of the characters to change that redundancy in combat or anything else. And I think that we pointed out a lot of issues with Pathfinder, but in my opinion, I still think it's a superior because, in my view, there isn't an illusion of there is choice all the way through. It's just how you want to play your character.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So I
Well,
think that's it from
uh,
us on this particular
yeah,
subject.
please
Controversial ideas.
comment. Yeah, please comment, please like, please subscribe, hit the little bell thing so you know when we make our next videos. I'm sure we'll get a lot of comments agreeing or disagreeing, and we want to see that. So please do that. And I'm Boris.
I'm Michael.
I'm John.
And I'm Jonathan, and we'll see you guys next time.